My brother, how nice to see you. Let's begin with module one, which is understanding your mind and your body. And before we get started, I'd like to ask you to do something. If you're driving a car, then there are going to be some exercises in this that really aren't going to be appropriate. So I would ask you, if you do that, to revisit these when you actually have time to really concentrate and do the exercises. And if you'll play full on with me, then you'll get the most out of this. Make active notes during this, really engage yourself with it, and do your best not to be distracted by anything. One of the most important things for you to understand is that you are not a linear system. A lot of the medical industry seems to think we're linear. In other words, like you have a cancer in a part of your body and it becomes all about that part of your body. But that's not the way your body works. Everything connects to everything else. So bear that in mind as we go through this, and also with the information I'm going to be talking to, the information we go through could fit in more than one section. So it's not just tied to one section, but I've put them into each section in order that it will make sense as we go through this and there's a logical flow to it. One of the most important gifts I can give you is a gift that I learned many years ago, and actually I forgot it for nearly 20 years as well, and I remembered it and started practicing it again much more effectively and much more consistently back in February this year. And that's the skill of state management, managing your emotional state, how you feel about things, what mood you're in, if you will. Now, probably the best guy I've ever come across about doing that is actually Tony Robbins, who's been at this now for 45 or more years, I believe it is. It's a really important skill to manage, and it's probably the biggest one for changing how you feel in every situation, because we don't experience life. We experience the life we focus on. And I think most people feel they lack resources, when in actual fact, what they lack is resourcefulness. And I certainly realize that in my life. And resourcefulness simply comes from the state that you're in. If you're in an unresourceful state, you're going to have no access to anything inside of you to enable to get the things done that you want to do. And it will affect your relationships, both with yourself and with the people that you love and care about most, the ones that you want to protect, being a man. It'll affect your well-being, it can affect your physical performance, and it will affect your health as well. Now, I think it's important because a man's mind is a tool, or it's a weapon, and it's a weapon that you can turn on yourself. Again, in my life, I did that for many, many years, grabbing the blade instead of grabbing the handle end of it. So I'm going to ask you, how are you going to use that? How are you going to use this moving forwards? Because think about this with a state. You could have a nice man who's in a playful state, and then someone barks at you when you're in that playful state, and you laugh at them or maybe even give them a hug because you're just in that wonderful place inside of yourself. But on the other side of that, you could be in a very angry, frustrated, wound up kind of state, and you could exhibit poor behavior to the ones you care most about. You could snarl at them or worse. Now, your state's really important. So the question I have for you is this: how useful would it be to be able to be in charge of your state moment by moment? To be in the right state to achieve all that you desired in that moment, to be able to create any state at the drop of a hat, to feel never again that you were a victim of circumstance, to learn what causes you to fly off the handle and to interrupt it like that so it doesn't happen anymore, to no longer feel defeated before you even start something, to be able to feel excited and curious about any topic in any moment, to be able to feel loving, to be able to feel focused with your significant other at the drop of a hat, or perhaps your grandchildren, which is what I do with my grandson. So if the answer to this or any of these is yes, I'm going to show you how we create our states. It's not complex, and you'll learn how you can create any state in moments. It's really very simple. So state is only comprised of three elements. And on the base, you have your physiology, your physical body, what you're doing with this, and how you're using it specifically. So from here on in, I'd encourage you and I'd ask you to start paying attention to how you're using your body and what you're doing with it. And when we get onto the stuff on the biology belief in a minute, you'll understand how the thoughts you're giving, the movements you're making with your body are informing your mind what's going on. So you create the state as much in your body as anywhere else. It's really powerful. So think about this as a quick example. If there's someone, say, in the other room next to you and they're depressed, and I said to you, look, I'll give you 100 quid or $125. Tell me what they're doing with their body. Would you tell me that they're stood tall, chest out, shoulders back, looking up, big smile on their face? or are they kind of all slumped forward and just, heads down, and they're breathing really shallow and just, like that? Now, the reason you know this stuff, the reason I know this stuff, is because we've all done that, right? And that's one of the things we do. Paying attention to your breathing. Are you breathing fast and shallow, or are you breathing nice and slow and strong and deep out of your abdomen? Is it high or low, as an example? What are your facial expressions? We've got something like 80 muscles or 80 plus muscles in our face. Most people don't use many of them, and they have habitual expressions on their face. You can tell from your face how someone feels, and there was a really good study done. It was to do with clinical depression, and they had people in the hospital stare in a mirror at themselves and smile. I think it's for like an hour a day. And eventually they all signed themselves out of the hospital because they could no longer be depressed just by changing how their body was. So I've got a quick exercise for you. It's really good fun. Please stand up. And of course, you're driving, then you can't stand up. You'll have to do this another time. So stand up, and I want you to have feet shoulder width apart. I want you to put your hands on your hips, and then I want you to do a Wonder Woman pose. So stand erect, stand tall, chest out, shoulders back, look up, smile, and just hold that pose. And there's something interesting as you hold that pose for a couple of minutes, is that your body will start to reduce the amount of cortisol it's producing by something like, I think it was 25%, which is your stress hormone. It will increase the amount of testosterone you produce by something like 20%. And it will increase the amount of risk you're willing to take by about a third as well. Absolutely fascinating study. I'll actually get the correct numbers, and they'll be in your workbook for you. So that one stance there, that Wonder Woman pose, where you're standing with your hands on your hips, looking up, smiling, is an amazing pose to do because it transmits all this stuff through your body and changes your physiology very, very quickly. Now, how cool is that? So I have a question for you. Is it possible that you could create other movements with your body, different things you can do to change how you feel in an instant? You could change your state quickly, and the answer is, of course, yes. So let's do something really quick, a quick example for you, because I want you to feel this, not just intellectualize it, but to actually feel it. So I want you to stand up, and I want you to shake your body out. So just shake your arms. In fact, you could jump up and down and just shake your arms out. That's right. Just keep doing that. And this necklace is really loud. So just keep jumping up and down, shaking your arms out. That's it. That's it. And you might notice your body feels a lot more kind of vibrant, alive. You've got all the lymph moving, all sorts of stuff's moving. You've not done that for very long at all. Now, another quick exercise for you to do, it's like running on the spot, except you're not going to move your legs. So left foot forwards, right foot back, and then hands like this, and then come on, let's run together. Faster, guys. Come on, mate, as fast as you can. I'm an old man, you can keep up with me. Come on. That's it. Go on. How good is that? Now, right foot forward, left foot back, repeat it again. Let's go. Come on, sprint. As fast as you can, mate. Faster. Get those arms moving. That's it. Come on. Come on. Now, notice if you don't feel substantially different. Your heart rate should be up a little bit. You're flooding yourself with oxygen. There's all sorts going on in your body, and that's just with learning how to move your body radically differently. And there's all sorts of things you could do to create power moves. You can do anything. So start to pay attention to how you're using this man suit that you're wearing right now. It's a very powerful suit, and you can do amazing things with it. So the second thing of this, so you've got like a triangle, haven't you? So you've got the base, which is physiology, and on one side now, you've got what are you focused on? Remember before we said, you don't experience life, you experience the life you focus on. And we focus our minds with the questions we're asking ourselves. Now, these normally can be in the background. They might be habitual questions. You might be asking yourself some negative questions like, why is this happening to me again? Why does this keep happening to me? Oh God, what am I going to do? So I'm going to suggest that in your workbook, you write down some of the negative questions you might be asking yourself habitually, and you might not be, but if you are, write them down. And then just write down the polar opposite, the exact opposite that will serve you. You see, I did a video on this a long time back. A long time ago, I stopped looking for answers. What I started to do was instead look for better quality questions, because a better question begets a better answer. So start to come up with some really good, powerful power questions. And at the end, in Module 7, I'll give you a list of the ones that I have access to every single day. And I'll normally ask them several times a day. So things like, when something's going wrong, how does this serve me? And I'll give you a quick example, actually. I recorded this module yesterday. It took me quite a long time to get it recorded, and then I was watching it through in the evening. I decided it wasn't good enough at all. And, you know, part of your brain, or part of my brain, was, I've just wasted half a day. But immediately I said, well, how does this serve me? And it was, well, I can serve my brothers better, I can serve you better by recording it and getting the sequence of the discussion to flow better so it actually serves you better. So that turned that one around for me. Another question you might ask is, what can I do right now with what I have to hand? I ask myself a lot of times when things go wrong, say I'm driving in a car on my own or with someone else, and something goes wrong, I immediately say, what can I do with what I've got to hand right now? Same when I'm working. What do I really want here? Another great, powerful question. And if I feel like I've been backed into a bit of a corner and I've got no options to get out, I like to have options so I can pick the best one. I might ask myself, what are the top 3 choices I can make right now? Even if it appears like I haven't got a choice, and I'll find them, because you and I all know that an option isn't a choice. And if you have 2 choices, it's not really a choice at all. It's just a dilemma. You want 3 or more things you can actually have a good choice from, or good choose of, rather. And then you also might ask yourself about this course right now. How can I use what I'm hearing right now to improve my health and well-being today? About the stuff you're learning right here. So the other thing I'd start to do with questions is you can become much more intentional, and be aware that where attention goes, energy flows. So be attentive to what you're focused on, how you're directing your mind, because in any given moment, there's amazing stuff going on and there's shit going on in our lives. If we focus on the shit that's going on in our lives, we will have a bad experience of it, and our state will not be a very strong, powerful, resourceful state so we can get stuff done. But if we're focused on what's great, what we appreciate, what we're most proud of, who we love, those kind of questions, then your state's a whole different place and you have access to more resources all the time. So I have a quick question for you. I'd like you to play full on with me again. So real quickly, they're shaking out again. Let's just do that for a second. And don't worry, we're not going to be doing loads of this. I just want to get you moving. So get yourself all shaken out. That's it. Now, if you want to, breathe nice and deep, nice and slow, breathe powerfully. If you want to do the Wonder Woman pose, hands on hips, standing tall, you can do that as well. Now, in this energized state, in your workbook, there's a question in there. If I could do anything right now, what would my ideal life be like? And I'd like you to just take a couple of moments to answer this. What would it be like physically? What would I be like emotionally? What would I be like spiritually? So from this place, answer these questions. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that now. And if you need to go back, obviously you can revisit it later on, or you can pause the video. That's a really useful way to do any kind of your brainstorming as well. It's from a powerful state. So the next way that we create a state is by the words we use. In other words, the definitions that we're giving things. Now, we're always asking ourselves two questions when something happens is, what does this mean and what am I going to do about it? Now, the language patterns that you use will determine how you feel, and they have a direct effect on your physical body, on your biochemistry, really, because you think a thought and then your body is informed by the neurochemistry. Chemical transmitters are created. That's how it works. So if something goes wrong and you say, well, I'm mad as hell, that's going to have a really interesting response in and throughout your entire body. You're going to feel something. But what if you described it as, well, that's irksome. It's a lot softer. It's a lot more gentle. So what if you said, I'm going to punch your lights out when something happened? I know I've caught myself saying that a few times in the past. But what if you said instead, oh, I really wish you hadn't done that. Or that was out of character. Or what happens if you said, here we go again. Yeah? What if you said instead something like, well, here's an opportunity to get a better result that I hadn't even considered? You see where we're going with this? What if you describe people as basically bad? Or you change that to perhaps, people do bad things from time to time, but basically they're full of love and compassion. See, the way you define the words is really powerful. And I have a question for you. If you're sick right now, be aware of something, that identity is the most powerful statement that we make of ourselves, and we have to live congruent and consistent with that. So be very careful here. If you're describing yourself as your symptom or your health issue, so I am diabetic, or I have cancer, or I am fat, or I can't lose weight no matter how hard I try, you are creating a reality in your physical body with those phrases. I want you to be very mindful of that moving forwards, because the words you use have incredible power. And I'll give you another quick example. So your words, your beliefs, and your thoughts shape your experience of your life. We're going to cover that more in depth in a minute. So originally, when I was putting this course together, I chose active aging as the title. And I mentioned it to one of the guests who's going to come on. But he said, when I said the name, he said, I might suggest, as a fellow mind-word reality smith yourself, you call it anti-aging, because our belief we are aging makes us age. And our words and thoughts reinforce the brain and body chemistry that makes our thoughts come true in our bodies. So changing the title and mindset alone is as valuable as the information you are teaching to contradict that change. Think about that. Could it be that the language we're using right now in everyday, without even thinking about it, it's affecting our biochemistry, our physical body, that's actually holding disease in place, that's creating disease? You betcha, it can be. And we'll get onto that when we start to talk about placebo and nocebo as well. So I'd encourage you from this point forward to be mindful of the meanings you're assigning to things, so that you can then start to better control your state. So remember the triad. You've got the physical body, you've got the focus of the mind through the questions, and then you've got the meaning, the language patterns you're using. So I have a wee tool for you to use, and this is really good fun. So there's a question you can ask yourself, which is, have I ever felt genuinely X about something? You can put whatever you want in there. So you might say excitement or loving or curious or passionate or whatever you want to put in there. And when you do this exercise, in fact, we'll do it now, but what I want you to do is you step back into the moment, you feel what you felt, you see what you saw, you hear what you heard, and you fully associate to it. And by that, I mean this. If you've ever been on a roller coaster, that bit where you just go over the end and your kind of stomach goes up in your chest, that feeling is what you want to get. So let's try excitement as an example. Have you ever felt genuinely really excited about something? And you probably have. And if you have, I want you just close your eyes for a second, and I want you just to step back into that moment right now. That's it, just step back in there. And I want you to feel what you felt inside in that moment of excitement. And I want you to see what you saw in that moment, hear what you heard, and feel what you felt right then. Just feel it, that's it, just amp it up a tiny bit. Notice how you feel completely different right now compared to you did a couple of seconds ago. And you might take a little practice with this. It might get easier. Well, it will get easier with time as you get better at it. But that's one of the ways that you'll start to notice how you create state in your body. And that one was just using a memory more than anything. So have a think about how you might use this anytime, about what state would be most appropriate. And have a play with this and notice also what state other people are in. Because in my mind, everyone's doing the very best they can. given the state they're in at the time. So it might be that you might want to help them by interrupting the pattern, which is really simple. That's like, if you're in a conversation with someone and someone asks you a question and you answer it and you go, and you cannot remember where you were at, that's a pattern interrupt. There are loads you can use. They're incredibly powerful. Use them on yourself. Help them with other people. If they're stuck in state, you can do all sorts. I do it with my grandson a lot when he gets himself really wound up. And I'll do something just completely out of character and ridiculous, and all of a sudden he's like, and he's at the point the pattern's broken, then we can have a normal conversation again. So if I might suggest right now, grab your workbook and then write down how you create the states of playfulness in yourself, wonder, curiosity, loving, connection, and any others you want to have a play with. And just pause the video now and just take your time doing that and then come back.